All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another live stream here on WooEnglish. As always, my name is Hamza and I will be your host. And today we are having another live stream. It's a political live stream, but again, you guys chose this live stream because, like every Sunday, we gave you the chance to choose the topics that you would love to discuss live on the channel or on our live streams. And you guys unanimously voted for the US or the conflict between the United States and China. So we decided to go for that choice, though we gave you other choices. I'm saying this because a lot of like our viewers have been complaining that we have been treating more and more politics topics. But again, we always like to have a more diplomatic or more democratic rather approach. So we gave you the chance to vote for your favorite topic, and you guys chose the conflict between the United States and China. So for those of you who are watching this channel for the first time, this is Woo English, a channel dedicated to learning English through stories. And today we are having a live discussion of US-China conflicts, and at the same time, it will be a listening live session and also we'll learn some English. So without further ado, let's start with the first few slides. And the first slides are always dedicated to a quick quiz with which we want to know how much do you know about the conflict between the United States and uh, yeah. All right. So when did the United States and China first fought? So the United States and China, of course, are rivals. They are competitors right now, and both of them are trying to dominate the world. Both of them have like great economies, great armies, but there is like an indirect war kind of going on between them, and it's kind of what we call a cold war. So a cold war is when two countries are competing, almost fighting but indirectly without using any weapons. But they did fight a real fight before. When was that? Was it 1949, during the Korean War, or during the Cold War? A, B, or C? Write for me your answer in the chat. And of course, don't forget to say hi in the chat if you are here. Let me see who is here with us, who is joining the live stream today. Um, so as I was saying in the beginning, Woo English is a channel dedicated to learning English through stories because we believe that uh, when you see the new words or when you learn new words through stories, it's easier to remember them. All right, it's easier to remember those words. So learning English through stories is, as we believe, the best way to learn English or to learn any language actually. So when do you think uh, China and the United States fought for the first time? Oh no, where is the? So let me put myself right here. I'm waiting for your answers, so make sure to write for me A, B, or C, depending on what you think is the correct answer. And while you are at it, I want to ask you very quickly, to check if the like button is working. Can you check for me if the like button is working? I will appreciate that. Let me see. All right, Lisa's here. Hey, Lisa, how are you? Great. So, A, during 1949, that's almost the end of the Second World War. So, how are you doing, Lisa? How's life treating you? All right. Let's check the answer. I think I'm gonna only have one. It was during the Korean War. That's when China and the United States met and fought for the first time. Right. Question number two. What is Taiwan's status today? So I want to tell you that today, in relation to the conflict between the United States and China, I want to focus on a very important conflict happening in between these two countries, which is the Taiwanese conflict, or the conflict over the Taiwan's islands. And so I want to also know what you know about Taiwan. So Do you think it's an independent state? It's a part of China, or is it a disputed land? What do you think? Is it A, B, or C? I'm good, great, Liz. Very happy to hear. What do you think is the status? The political kind of status or legal status of Taiwan? Liz says it's A, meaning that it's an independent state. Let me see if I can find for you a map of Taiwan. There are disputes, by the way, all right? So there is no correct answer here, I think, almost. So I want to show you a quick map so that you can understand what we are talking about today. Because today, the whole listening activity will actually be about the Taiwanese conflict. So this is China, this is mainland China, and this is Taiwan. It's a small island situated in the southeast of China. And the question here is Taiwan an independent country? Is it part of China? Or we don't know. And for your answers, guys, you are saying, so Lee says it's A, and Sergio says it's a part of China. That's so interesting. That's so interesting. I've got two extremes. It's independent, part of China, or it's disputed. All right, let's check the answer. Actually, the answer is that it's disputed. All right. So for China, it's a part of China. All right. But for Taiwan, or for the majority of Taiwanese people, it's an independent land or an independent country. But for the majority of the world, it's like an disputed land. We don't know, right? It's not very clear. And today we are gonna do a whole listening about the Taiwanese uh, uh, conflict between the United States and China. Yeah. What event improved US China relations? Sometimes I'm going to ask you some questions and maybe you don't know the answers. And that's totally fine because, of course, we don't know all the facts. So, I what I wanted to do sometimes is just to guess, all right? Just to guess which one do you feel is correct, and then I'm gonna share with you the answer, and you will see if you got it correct or no. So what? So of course there have always been some conflicts between the United States and China, but there was one event that kind of improved the relationship between the two countries. Was it Nixon's visit to China, Taiwan War, or the Cold War? And I think the answer is very clear here. A, says Lise. Perfect. So, Lise, can you remind me, what are you from? And same for Sergio. What are you from? What are you guys from? For me, I'm from Morocco. And again, let me see if I can find some pictures of the event. So again, there were a lot of conflicts, a lot of a lot of tension between the United States and China for a long time. But there was one event that kind of fixed things between the two countries, or improved the situation between the two countries. I'm from the Congo. All right, Colombia. Great. So Sergio from Colombia and Liz from Democratic Republic. Perfect. So welcome, guys. I'm always glad that we have like an international audience. So we have people watching from all over the world: India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, United States, Europe. By Europe, I mean a lot of countries in Europe, like France, Spain, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco. So I'm so glad of how we are doing. And the answer here, so let me reveal the answer. The answer is Nixon's visit. President Nixon's visit to the United States. So this was correct. So these are some pictures from the American president Nixon to China. So you can see him here. He is on the Great Wall of China, right, which is one of the wonders of human civilization. So you can see this is the Wall of China, and this is President Nixon. And here is another picture of the same guy, President Nixon, in like some old buildings in China. So this is very interesting, to be honest. But again, after this, I think things went again down. And what caused U.S.-China tensions? Trade, meaning commerce and business, military power, or both? Trade. All right. And we enter, by the way, they are very competitive when it comes to like trade, to business, because you can see China is controlling some very important sectors, like those chips that we can see on in phones and stuff. They are mostly produced in China and exactly in Taiwan, which is why there is actually this conflict. All right. So let's see the answer. Yes, it's actually both. It's actually both. So it's partly it's partly trade, partly also a military power. Because again, the United States is trying to intervene in the Taiwanese conflict, and China does not like that. It's very interesting. And today we are going to do a listening, and you are going to understand the situation so clearly. Perfect, wonderful. So let's see. Yes. All right. So, as we always do, before I give you the listening to, or before I give you the text to listen to it, we like, or I like to teach you some vocabulary that you are going to hear during the listening. And today I chose for you the five following words: traitor, invasion, tension, diplomat, economy. And on the other side, we have the system of money and trade in a country, a person working for international relations, a military attack to take over a place, pressure between opposite sides, and people betray that country or group. What I need you to do is to match the words in 1, 2, 3, 4 until 5 with the definitions in A, B until D or until E. Can you do that for me? Can you help me? Or let me take myself to the other side. Okay, I think I'm more comfortable here. So can you help me by linking or matching the words from ABC to their definitions? These are words, as I told you, these are words that we are going to hear when we are listening to the text. And I always like to pre teach them. I want to teach them to you before we can go and listen. All right. So that when you hear them in the text, You won't be surprised. You won't be like confused. So the words are traitor, invasion, tension, diplomat, economy. I can already see Lise did everything, so let's check her answers. One is E, meaning a traitor is people who betray their country or group. Perfect. Two is C, meaning two, invasion is C, a military attack to take over a place. Perfect. Or else? Three is D. Okay. Three, tension, pressure between opposite sides. And four is B. Diplomat, a person working in international relations. And finally, five is A, meaning economy, the system of money and trade. That's perfect, actually. That's wonderful. Yes, exactly. So you got them all correct. So again, let me explain for people who probably did not understand the word. So a traitor, imagine you are in a group, you are working with your country, or you are in a country, and then you go and give some information, some secret information about your country to your country's enemy, to the enemy of your country. This is what we call a traitor. A traitor is a person who traitor, who betrays their country. All right. Number two, invasion. An invasion is when a country takes over or tries to control another country. All right. Invasion. Like what? Like what happened, for example, between Russia and Ukraine. Russia is trying to invade or to take over Ukraine. I hope that's uh, clear. Tension. Tension is when there is like a lot of pressure, a lot of conflicts between two countries, but there is no direct confrontation, right? It's mostly indirect. Diplomat. A diplomat is a person who works for his country or who represents his country in another country. And finally, of course, the economy of a country is their business and their trade and what, like so on. Okay, let's see if you understood these words correctly, or if you understood these words well. So great job, Liz. You did a great job. So can we use these words in these sentences here? So I have, for example, the government punished the who sided with the enemy. Is it diplomat, tension, economy, traitor, or invasion? Number two, the country prepared for an enemy something. Political between the nations was rising, meaning was going up. The US met Chinese officials, and finally, the nations grow after opening to trade. So, can you help me fill these gaps with the words that you can see on the top of the screen? Diplomat, tension, economy, traitors, and invasion. Can you help me do that? And this is, by the way, a vocabulary exercise. Sergio says number one is traitor, and let us check. Number one is indeed traitors. So traitors, most of the time, actually, treason is one of the worst crimes that one can do against his or her country, and most of the time, the punishment for traitors is death. All right, number two, great. So you got number one correct, Sergio. Perfect. What about number two? All right. You guys need to wake up. Come on. I see a lot of people watching. And I would love for you guys to actually try to answer the questions for me. Lee says invasion for number two. Perfect. I can see that Liz and Sergio are doing a fantastic job today. And they are taking turns actually answering each question. That's wonderful. Invasion, exactly. So when you hear that another country is trying to invade your country, the verb, by the way, is to invade with the D. You need to prepare. Number three, political between the nations was rising, was going up, and this is a bad thing. If this thing goes up between two countries, things can go bad very quick. So, what do you think, guys, are the answer for number three? Tension, says Lise. So Lise says tension. Right? Let's check. Let's check together. All right, tension. Though this was Sergio's turn. Where is Sergio? The US met Chinese officials. The US something met the Chinese officials. So what do you think the word is, or the correct word is for number four? Diplomat. Yes. I'm going a little bit fast because I want to move to the most important thing in today's live stream, which is um, the listening, of course. And of course, we are left with one more word, which is economy. So now we are going to move for the most important part of our live stream, which is listening. And for all our listenings, we have three rules. Rule number one, listen carefully because as you listen or after you listen, I'm going to ask you some questions. Number two, while you are listening, if you don't understand the word, write it for me in the chat and I'm going to explain it for you. Number three, I want you to go down and check if the like button is working. If it's working, click on it and yeah, tell me that you have done that. So without further ado, let's go and listen to chapter number three of our video. By the way, this is from our channel. This is from our video. We are going to listen to chapter number three, which is about the Taiwan crisis between the United States and China. So without further ado, let's listen.
Chapter 3 The Taiwan Crisis. The island caught between giants. The ocean was calm. The waves moved slowly, reflecting the moonlight like silver. But beneath the surface, danger. A U.S. warship floated in the dark, its engines quiet, its guns loaded. Sailors stood ready, eyes on the horizon, hands on their weapons. Across
Are listening to a political text, kind of, but we have made it into a sort of story. So you will hear a lot of description in our video.
the water, a Chinese destroyer did the same. The two sides did not speak, did not fire. But one wrong move, and everything could change. The year was 1949. The war was over. But the peace, that was still far away. On the mainland, the Communist Party had won. Mao Zedong's army marched through Beijing. The red flag rose high. China was now communist, and Mao was its new leader. But not everyone accepted it. The old government, the nationalists, had lost the war. They had fled 2 million people, soldiers, politicians, families. Across the sea, they reached a small island, Taiwan.
Great. So this is kind of where the conflict about Taiwan began, which is when the Communist Party took control over China, a lot of people fled to Taiwan.
It was not just a place to hide, it was a last hope. From there, they dreamed of taking back China. Beijing called them traitors. Mao wanted to end this battle for good. Taiwan had to be taken by any means necessary. But there was a problem. The United States America had a choice: support Taiwan or stay out of it. At first, they hesitated. Taiwan was small, the Cold War was just beginning. The US had its own problems. Then, war broke out in Korea. The United States changed its mind. It could not let another country fall to communism. It had to stop China. In 1950, U.S. warships sailed into the Taiwan Strait, a wall of steel, a warning to Beijing. If China attacked Taiwan, it would face the United States. Mao was furious, but he was not ready to fight the U.S. directly. The invasion was stopped, for now. Years passed. The tension did not fade. Then, in 1954, China made its move. Boom. A missile hit the sea near Taiwan. Another followed, and another. China was attacking the small islands near Taiwan. Bombs rained down. Soldiers prepared to land. Taiwan's government was afraid. Was this the beginning of an invasion? The U.S. answered. More ships, more planes, more threats. The two powers stood face to face once again. Would they fight this time? Would the Cold War become a real war? The world held its breath. Then, silence. At the last moment, China stopped. The crisis was over. But only for now. In 1958, it happened again. China attacked the islands once more. The sky filled with fire. Taiwan soldiers held their ground, waiting. Would the U.S. come to help? American ships moved closer. Would they fire? Would they attack? China saw them, and once again, it stepped back. 3 times, the world had been on the edge of war. Taiwan remained free. But Beijing never forgot. Decades passed. Taiwan grew stronger. It became rich, democratic, different from the mainland. But China never gave up its claim. To Beijing, Taiwan was not a separate country. It was still China.
This is why I said in the beginning, it's a disputed piece of land. Because for China, it's Chinese land. For Taiwan, it's an independent country.
And one day, it would return. The United States continued to protect Taiwan, but never officially. It did not recognize Taiwan as a country. It did not put troops there, but it always watched, always warned China not to act. And now? The tension remains. More ships, more missiles, more threats.
They are not actually fighting, but they have a lot of armies around Taiwan. In case China attacks Taiwan, mostly the United States will try to
The
defend it.
world still watches, still waits. One mistake, one wrong move could mean disaster. And Taiwan, once again, is caught between giants. Chapter 4. Nixon goes to China. From enemies to friends.
All right. I think we are going to listen to chapter 4 as well.
Plane cut through the gray sky, flying low over the rooftops of Beijing. Below, streets stretched in every direction. People stood still, their eyes lifted toward the sky. Soldiers in green uniforms watched in silence. Inside the plane, Richard Nixon sat quietly. His hands rested on his lap. His heart pounded in his chest. He was about to make history. For years, China and the United States had been enemies. They had fought in Korea. They had threatened war over Taiwan. They had lived in the shadow of the Cold War, never speaking, never meeting. Now, that was about to change. The wheels touched the runway. The plane slowed, then stopped. A door opened, and Nixon stepped out. The cold air hit his face. He adjusted his coat and took a deep breath. On the ground, Chinese officials stood waiting. Their faces were serious, their hands folded behind their backs. And then he appeared. Mao Zedong, the man who had led the communist revolution, the man who had called the U.S. the enemy, the man who had fought against everything Nixon believed in. Now they stood face to face. The cameras flashed. The world held its breath. Then Nixon extended his hand. A pause. Mao looked at him. A small smile formed on his lips. He reached out and shook Nixon's hand. It was just a handshake. Just a simple moment. But it changed everything. For over 20 years, no American leader had stepped foot in China. No American diplomat had met with its government. Now, in a single moment, the wall between the two nations had cracked. They walked inside. The talks began. The discussions were careful, slow. Both sides knew the risks. Mao and Nixon sat in a large, simple room. No translators, no officials, just two men speaking through an interpreter, trying to end years of silence. Nixon spoke first. The world cannot be safe if China and the United States do not talk. Mao nodded. You are right. Their conversation lasted only an hour, but it was enough. Nixon spent a week in China. He met with Premier Zhou Enlai. He visited the Great Wall. He watched a performance of traditional Chinese opera. And at the end of his trip, he and Mao agreed on something that had once seemed impossible. The United States and China would open relations. They would stop seeing each other as enemies. They would begin, for the first time, to talk. It was not a friendship. Not yet. But it was a start. Trade began. American businesses saw an opportunity. A country of nearly 1 billion people, a market unlike any other. They started selling goods to China. China, in return, opened its doors to the world. Factories grew. Cities expanded. The economy woke up. Within a few years, China was no longer the isolated country it had been. It was changing. modernizing, preparing to take its place in the global economy. But there was a question. How long would this friendship last? Some believed it was the beginning of a new era, a future where China and the US would work together, grow together. Others were not so sure. The Cold War was still alive. Taiwan was still a problem. And deep down, both sides knew. This was not a perfect friendship. But for now, it didn't matter. Nixon left China knowing one thing. History had changed, and the world would never be the same. Chapter 5. The
Sorry. All right. So let me repeat again. Let me repeat. I didn't pay attention that I am. Yes. So I think Chipro did not hear me welcome him. So Chipro, welcome. Let me know where you are joining us from. Sorry guys, I muted myself. Thank you, Elise, for reminding me to unmute myself. So as I said, today we listen to two chapters, chapter 3 and chapter 4. In chapter 3, we listened to the beginning of the conflict between China and the United States about the Taiwanese island. That's number one. The second chapter, which is chapter number 4, was about Nixon's visit to the to China, basically, and this is some of the pictures that were real. These are real. This is Nixon in China. This is the Great Wall of China. So I want to see, as I said, if you guys were listening well, and we are going to start with true or false. The first question is: the United States supported Taiwan from the start. Based on your listening, is this true or is this false? It's always silly that sometimes I start speaking and I'm muted. I don't pay attention. False. All right, perfect. Lee says it's false. So let me change this picture here. And I want to remind you to kindly like this video. We always appreciate that. So Lee says it's false. What about the rest of you guys? What do you think? Maybe let me reveal the first one. It is false, exactly. Because in the beginning, the United States hesitated. Shall I intervene? Shall I support Taiwan, or shall I remain neutral? Right? Yeah. So China attacked Taiwan in 1954 based on the text you listened to. Is this true? Is this false? So, number two, do you think this is correct or this is false? So, what do you think? You can simply write for me F or T. F for false, T for true. Shall I reveal it? I'm gonna reveal it. True. It bombed the small islands. Why? If you remember, because when the Communist Party took over China and controlled China, a lot of people who did not agree with the Communist Party fled or run away to the Taiwanese island. Next one. Nixon was the first US leader in China. Is this true or is this false? Hey, hey, Alex, how are you? What are you joining us? What are you joining us from? Wonderful. I'm not really a streamer, but thank you for that. I will take that as a compliment. True. Lee says this is true. All right, let's check. All right, this is indeed true. Oh, no US leader had, yes, exactly. So, no US leader had visited China before President Nixon. So, great. Next one. The US recognized Taiwan as an independent country. All right. True. Is this true? Okay, true. All right. Let us check if this is true indeed. Yeah, no, not really. It never officially did. So this is why we said in the beginning the status of Taiwan is disputed because while the United States is supporting Taiwan, but it did not recognize it as an independent country. That can be very dangerous, by the way. That can be very dangerous because if the United States officially says Taiwan is an independent country, that means war between China and the United States. So the United States is very diplomatic in this sense. Next one. China's economy grew after Nixon's visit. What do you think? Or what do you remember, rather? China's economy. So after Nixon visited the United States, did true, Sergio? Perfect. All right. So you guys are still there, are still around. So I think I'm gonna skip one of the exercises about the text or about the listening, and I'm gonna go directly to some grammar exercises because I know you guys enjoy grammar and language exercises much more. So let me reveal. Yes, it is correct. Actually, trade with the United States began. So economy grew a lot in China after Nixon's visit. That is very interesting. All right. So I'm gonna jump right into um, here. Yes. All right. So here the exercise is not filled with a, in, and do. All right. So let me correct it. So here is it's uh, reorder the sentences. Reorder the sentences here. So can you help me reorder the sentences here? So I have Taiwan between caught is giant. These are, by the way, sentences from the text that we listen to, but you just need to put them in the right order. The crisis over was now. Ships US sent a warning China too. Relations improved visit Nixon's after. A blockade China Taiwan on imposed. And finally, the agreement signed was in 1979. Very interesting sentences, though. So, what do you think is the right or the correct order of these sentences? So can you help me? You can do one thing, by the way. You can choose any sentence here and just write for me the number of the sentence. You can start with number 5, number 4, number 3, whichever you like. So just choose one number and tell me what is the correct order of these sentence. So reorder, help me reorder these sentences. So far, we haven't reordered none. I'm still at 0 now. So I hope you guys will help me uh, fix these sentences. Okay. Uh, Liz, can you change the placement of one word? Is. So can you put it after Taiwan so that the sentence is Taiwan is caught between giants. All right, that's the correct one. So one word, it's in the beginning. It should be in the beginning. Number 7, Sergio. This is what I want, by the way. So for everybody watching, if you want to start with any sentence, please do. The agreement was signed in 1979. That's perfect. So we have number 1, we have number 7. Can you help me with the rest? Not number 7. We don't have number 7. We have number 6. That's number 6, not number 7. So can you help us with the rest? So we still have number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So come on for the others. Seize this opportunity to work on your English. Come on. And of course, if you want to ask any questions, if you need any help, I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions. Taiwan is caught between giants. That's number 1. Perfect. That's number 1. So I'm gonna cross number 1 and number 6 because you guys did them. So you guys did number 1 and you did number 6. Perfect. And of course, if you want to see the corrections, see Elise and Sergio's answers in the chat. They did a great job. But I need the rest of the exercise done as well. So can you help me with the rest of the exercise, guys? Yes. The crisis was over now. Perfect. I like that. So the crisis was over now, and number 2 is corrected now. And by the way, I want to tell you something. For words like now, they are very flexible, right? So we can say, now the crisis is over, or the crisis now is over, or the crisis is now over, or the crisis is over now. So now is very flexible inside the sentence. So we have done number 1, number 2, number 6. So what about we have still have 3 more. Ships US sent a warning China to. Some especially sentence number 3. I think there is there is more than one possibility or one option, I think. right? China ships sent a warning to the US. That's one suggestion. This is what I meant for number three. It can be China ships sent a warning to the US, or US ships sent a warning to China. All right? So it can be one way or the other. Or China sent warning to US ships. So it can be one of many suggestions actually. So I'm gonna accept any. I'm gonna accept any. All right. Number four. So Elise so far is doing a great job. You have the longest streak. You have like three sentences in a row. One, two, three. I need others to participate as well. I hope. Relations improved visit Nixon's after. It's very easy, this one, I think. All right. Perfect. After Nixon's visit, relationships improved. I like that. Or relationships improved after Nixon's visit. Great. You guys did the same thing, but it can also be relationships improved after Nixon's visit. That's also a possible answer. So perfect. I'm gonna do two because you guys both corrected this one. So we still have one more. Let's see who will do it first. A blockade China Taiwan and imposed or on imposed. China imposed a blockade on Taiwan. Perfect. So we did number five as well. Perfect, guys. That's lovely. All right. So let's check this last exercise. Probably this will be our last exercise. And the exercise is choose the correct pronoun this time. So I have for you eight sentences, and in each sentence, there are two pronouns that you need to choose from. For example, number one, she, her is the one who helped me with my project. And here I'm going to help you, or I'm going to do number one as an example. Here we are going to choose number one, which is she. Why? Because here we have a verb, so we need the verb, the subject here. So can you do the others? And maybe let me hide myself so that you can see well. I'm going to hide myself just like temporarily so that you can think about them all. All right, so let's check. First, hours. All right. So let me see. The teacher asked us to organize hours material for the lesson. It's not hours really, it's hour. And I like that listed them all in one go. So it's hour actually for number. Let me show myself here. Uh, hour, it's all right. So you did them all in one go. Let me explain to you the difference between hour and hours. All right. I hope I will have the whiteboard active. So if you can give me just one second, just to open my whiteboard, and I'm gonna explain to you, especially you, Sergio, the difference between hour and hours. It will take some time, but I'm sorry. It's just like to open my virtual whiteboard. I'm a teacher. I like to use the whiteboard when I'm teaching. All right. I'm gonna also probably hide myself, but I'm okay. I'm gonna keep myself. I love myself. All right. All right. So let me write like a small sentence and then explain the difference between hour and hours. This house uh, is or belongs to us, right? This house belongs to us. So if we want to substitute or to replace this expression belongs to us with a pronoun, we can say this is our house. So you can see that we used our here to replace the fact that this house belongs to us. So this is for number one. But if we say this house is what? This house is ours. So the difference between our and ours, very simply, is that our is used when the thing that you own is after our. But when there is nothing after our, we say ours. All right. Let's go back to the expression or to the sentence and see what we had. So here we have material. So we have the the property. So we cannot use ours because, as I said, ours can only be used when we don't have the property after, right? So if we have this is our house, so we can. I'm gonna give you even for another example. This pencil is mine. This is my pencil. So you can see again when I used my pencil, it's there is the property after, but I use mine, which is the equivalent of ours when there is nothing after that, right? So I hope it's clear. I hope it's a little bit clearer. So I'm gonna go directly to correct. So the company increased its profit by 20% last year. Can you pass the book to him, please? Why? Because the verb is here. So if it is before the verb, we use subject pronoun. If it's after the verb, we use object pronoun. This is a subject pronoun. This is an object pronoun. And since it is after the verb, we should use the object pronoun. I saw Amanda and her were talking to the manager. Normally, here we should use she because it's before the verb talking. The movie was amazing. I would recommend it to everybody or everyone. I think both of these are clear, are correct. Especially everyone, to everyone. I think it's clearer. It's more correct. We, us, going. So here, of course, are. So this is the verb. So before the verb, we always use the subject form. And finally, and I saw him. So here, this is the verb. And after the verb, I should use the object form of the pronouns. That was a very quick explanation, I know, but I just wanted to go very quick through these. Maybe someday I'm gonna take a whole session and explain to you pronouns in detail. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I think we arrived to the end of this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you benefited, and I hope you had some fun with this. Thank you so much for watching. See you on Friday.